Hi, hi Neil.
Hey, Precious. Good morning.
Welcome. Good morning. Welcome to another episode of the 10x Developer Podcast.
Episode
It's really
19.
nice to,
Wow, that's great.
yeah, that's 19 weeks, 19 Mondays, and 19 different
We always started with
updates.
Mondays. I think we started with some other day or switched to Mondays. Or maybe we did. I don't know.
Yeah, it used to
Uh,
be Sundays, moved to Monday. I mean, Monday
mm,
was, it was the day
better for us.
we,
Yep.
yeah, better for us. So we moved to Monday. All right. So let's get right into it. Let's start with the, I think Nilanjan said it's the less, is it the least interesting stories?
It's actually interesting. So I don't know whether it's a story. It's some showed up in my queue this week when I usually, I mentioned this few times already, right? I use Deep Researcher to find all these news articles. So
Yeah.
this popped up. I think this is a feel good story a little bit. So we always talk about AI versus jobs versus what happens to software developers. So this is, and we always keep tap of that, right, in the industry. So this is like a check-in a little bit. What's happening in the industry currently?
Yeah.
Obviously, we covered this story many times that AI keeps rewriting the rules, right? I mean, from tools chain to structure. I mean, uh, AI is generating lots of code. I mean,
Yeah.
Google mentioned that. I think we had a story around that, right? Google said around what, 15 or 20% of their code base is now written by AI or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. 30%
Yeah.
of their code base.
So this is becoming in a very interesting. Obviously, that also triggers how hiring managers are looking at you, right? When you submit your profile. So
Yeah.
at Google, especially, 71% hiring managers say they rather onboard a AI fluent junior developer than a senior engineer who are not up to date with this AI technology, AI toolset. So
Yeah.
it's a sort of balancing act, and we always had a feeling that that's going to happen. Emerging software developers at an age now, if they're really fluent at using AI tools and co-pilots and agentic applications, they will have more advantage over and senior engineer with lots of years of experience. Hiring managers are preferring that. That sort of makes sense logically, right? Because companies are moving to AI generated software development. So they're looking
Yeah.
for people who are interested in that. And it'll be interesting to unpack what that means, AI fluent software developer, right? I bet that would include that you're up to date with how to use these AI tools, context engineering, you're comfortable building architectures for agentic application. This kind of skills are becoming really, really important.
Yeah.
So, in terms of layoffs, so there's some interesting data points in here. So far, I believe this is US based. So obviously, it doesn't represent the global landscape here. But big tech layoffs so far, 2025 had been 80,000 jobs. Whereas on the other hand, 46,000 new software development openings have been listed in various job boards. So we are still losing lots of layoffs, but there's still new jobs getting created, which is interesting. That's what you want to see, right? Um,
Yeah.
so just to sort of summarize that AI skills are your ticket. So, system design, how to build agentic architecture, context engineering. And this also means that you have to be very business focused, right? I mean, having skills of understanding what problem you're solving um, is essentially outranking 10 years. So it really doesn't matter how many years you have worked in this industry, but if you have this new emerging skills, then companies are looking for you.
Yeah. That's actually a very interesting take because I think it was 2 weeks ago, 2 Mondays ago,
Mm.
someone asked in the comments, what skill should I learn in the age of AI?
Mm.
All these things are happening, all these changes are happening. What skill should I learn? Right. And I think we gave like agents, build agents, right? But
Yeah, yeah.
this also goes to break it down to explain how you need AI skills. You need to understand problem solving, system designs. You need to understand,
Mm.
you know, how to actually use these AI tools, and these things are very important. So I think this is a very interesting one because if it start
Yeah.
happening in
So
the
there were,
US, obviously it's going to
yeah,
globally.
right. Yeah. No, I mean, that's why our last episode, when we talked about, maybe not last, and a couple of episodes back, when we talked about context engineering, that's really, really becoming the skill, man. I mean, that's also very critical for any AI app to perform really well. So
Yeah,
these are in hot demand, and problem solving is sort of interesting. Uh, so I feel like I've done well in when I used to have a full time job as a software developer, not because I was the best programmer. I mean, but I feel like I align more with what problem you're solving, why we're solving this, how can I add value for my customer, my business, or the employer that I'm working on. It's helped me sort of through my career because that gave me immediate recognition, because that's what businesses care about, right? They care about solving problem, not your solution. um,
yeah,
and sometimes engineers get a bit too heavy about, no, I want to use this framework to solve this problem, right? I care about React so much, I care about programming, I used to be like that, I care about Scala so much.
yeah.
But at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. It matters is, can you solve my problem? So I saw a recent interesting post about this. Maybe it's a satire, but in some sense, it sort of makes sense that the Vive coder uh, are essentially becoming better than uh, traditional professional programmers, because they're very focused on solving problem, right? They don't care how they're solving it, but they understand that, oh, this is a problem I need to solve. So it's not about
Yeah,
software, you know what I mean, right? So I know there's a that's a joke, but there's a little bit of truth to that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, problem solving. Like I was reading some articles on how Google now interview product managers and how they're hiring more product managers,
Mm,
right? I think it was Andrew Negro or something like
mm,
this. He was saying that the way we build software has
mm,
changed PM to about
mm,
1
mm,
p.m. to front end, to back end,
mm.
and maybe a designer, right? But now we are now seeing two PMs and you just need one developer. So we just need the developer to make sure that all the technical stuff
Yeah,
are in
because
place.
because the
Yeah,
bottleneck has shifted. Andrew Ng, I think, Dunn has a
yeah,
really good
yeah,
presentation recently too about this, right? As producing software becomes, I mean, the right, generating code is not your bottleneck anymore, right? The bottleneck is just how quickly
no,
can
it
come up
wasn't.
with yeah, solutions, or yeah, or the problems you want to solve, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah. Even
So I'm going to
thinking
run a
of, okay,
second story. Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. No,
No,
yeah, yeah. So no, you're absolutely right. So it's fascinating to see. I mean, so just to summarize that, I know we talk about lots of job losses, and it's happening, but there is also this new space that opening up, and companies are aggressively looking for. I mean, Meta super intelligence team is one example of that, right? So in this constantly changing environment, you have to take sort of risk, and that would mean is that I think we cannot. I mean, as a senior software developer, I can say I cannot just go around brag about have this years of experience, hire me. I don't think that's going to work anymore. The companies are essentially looking for, are you keeping up with all this new changes, that fundamental changes happening in how we build software, and can you be part of that, right? I mean, that's the essence of what I'm saying. And juniors are doing much better in here comparatively, because they're picking up these tools, new tools. They're aggressively learning that, making them faster, and companies like that. So on the other hand,
yeah,
speaking of AI doing all the code generation, I was very happy with the story. So just to give you a context, so every year in Tokyo, so there is a platform called @Coder, okay, that runs World Championship for programmers. So it's the competitive programming challenge. they invite the top 15 around the world to come to Tokyo to participate in this challenge. Okay. So the best of this, I never used
Yeah.
AdCoder, but I was Googling around. It's considered one of the hardest programming challenge platform in the world. Okay. So this year, in a couple of days, I think it was in June 16th or 17th, they ran this. And this time, the competition was themed around humans versus AI. Okay. And
Yeah.
OpenAI sponsored the event, and OpenAI was using one of their, I think, O3 Alpha. I could be wrong. This could be a glimpse of GPT-5, right? This is not the standard. They had a very special model participate in this challenge. So there was this 10-hour non-stop competition, exhausting competition, where we finally saw a human beat AI. His name is, this is a Polish developer, so name is very complicated. Psyho is his handle. Uh, Dibayek, I think his first name, Dibayek actually won. So this time, human developer beat OpenAI model and became the number one in this competition. So he scored around 1.8 trillion points, narrowly ahead of AI's, which is OpenAI's this alpha model, which scored 1.65 trillion. So I think OpenAI was second and Psyho was the number one.
So when I saw the news first thing I thought to myself was, okay, is it in the output of code? Is it in problem solving? What part of AI is this? Like,
Well, I
what
mean, I think one of,
what exactly do you mean?
yeah, I think that, so what I glimpse for it, obviously, this kind of problems they give in these challenges are very complicated, right? So you need deep reasoning to understand some of these algorithmic issues that you need to solve. I think what differentiated is this continue to reason about the problem as you go. I think the 10-hour is very important data point in here. I think the longer it went, and we talked about the issues with the context, right? I think models started to show issues with deep reasoning as you continue to explore the problem space.
Okay. Okay. I think that sounds interesting anyways, because it was a huge news. Everybody was like, oh, how I was also like, okay, so what's because I know when it is a problem between a human and I don't think the problems we have today, I don't think today AI is going to really beat a human being like that. Because humans have this way of different way of approaching a problem. So I think I was working on something. Yeah, I wanted to write a piece, right? So I just got the
Mm,
topic, I gave it to AI and I said, write a piece on this, right? And I wrote my own version of that particular piece. And
mm,
then AI didn't know that, oh, someone on Twitter was talking about it recently, and I had to tell the story of what happened on Twitter, and I give other instances. I mean, he told stories, but these were like normal internet anytime, any day. He didn't make the
mm,
analogy. I gave examples of, convention. I gave examples and articulate. AI just gave me a rundown. It was just like text everywhere, competition, right? And I think I'm going to be more creative. I'm obviously going to win because of the way of course I still ended up giving my own version to AI to finish up, but you get what I mean. Yeah, the creativity it's there. It's more on my own part more than on the AI part.
I mean,
So
it's
if that is
creativity.
what
I mean, yeah, it's hard. I mean, I will probably not be the right person to explain this, but I mean, I've seen creative glimpses while working with these models. Remember, some of these models are fine tuned for this kind of play here. So there is a special alpha model.
yeah
I mean, so it's not hard to imagine that this model has been trained in all the problems this ad coder. I mean, most of this are public data set has been gone through this all the
yeah
programming challenges and exploded. Um, yeah, man, I don't think that was I don't think it was smartness. So I'm more smarter than the model. That's why I won. I think
And the model.
it's the time span of continue to reason about the problem. And I know this is an issue with the sys models, right? It's could hallucinate. It might you miss a
Oh,
point. I mean, it makes mistakes.
okay.
I think perseverance was
Okay.
the name of the game here. And I think humans prevail
Oh,
because we persevered through the problem for 10 hours and saw that.
oh, yeah. Hmm.
But
Okay.
again, and you and I
So
were
that
talking
is
about
fairly.
this before we went live. I feel like, I don't know, maybe this is the last time we saw a human with AI.
Yeah.
12 months is a long time. I mean, next year, who knows what the model will be capable of.
Yeah.
But we
So I mean, these
won.
models are
This time
getting
we
better by.
won.
Yeah.
Yes.
Congratulations to
Yeah,
humans. We are still
exactly.
winning. Yeah. All right. So let's get into this story. Amazon Kiro. I don't know if you're on Twitter, you must have seen it over the weekend. So it is an AI-powered IDE for spec-driven vibe coding. So um, it's basically like a VS Code, but for you, it enforces specification-driven development. It generates requirements, specification, technical blueprint, test, and also project plans upfront. So sort of like does like a breakdown for you before you start vibe coding. You know how you just put the thing in and then it just starts giving you anything. You don't some people that are not so technical, they don't understand what happens behind the hood. It just keeps going. But I think this, what they are trying to do with this is to kind of give you like some technical structure
Mm,
around what you are
mm,
building using vibe coding, right? Also, so it breaks down your prompt for you into structured components and create and maintain specification files and hooks, blueprints automatically. It supports MCP, and then it also includes agentic chats
mm,
for context aware and Q&A and all those things.
mm.
So, and this model was released by Amazon, that's AWS. Now, the interesting part of this model, which I saw a video where it deploys for what what you built,
Mm,
and I was like, okay, this is very interesting
mm.
because it deployed in one click. So it was just like, oh, publish, deploy, and then it deployed on Amazon Web Service in one click, which is very interesting because building is one thing, but deploying is another thing. I speak to people that build AI models here in Africa, in Nigeria specifically. And then building is one thing. So the code is working on the platform, but they want to show you, they still show you on the platform because some of them are not technical enough
Right,
to deploy.
right.
And then something like AWS, you have to pay in dollar,
Yeah.
and then you have a lot of bottlenecks down here,
Mm.
and a lot of things going on. So I feel like this is really going to be a little bit interesting. I mean, if you are building and deploying in one place, and then also
Is it
having all
all
these
web apps,
technical
or it could
reports.
be any type of apps? Is it like V0 then,
Yeah,
or?
it could be any type of app. Yeah, I think it's more like VS Code. So it's a VS Code fork.
Oh, okay, okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but it's actually using Cloud Sonnet 4 from AWS.
Oh, so it connects with the Bedrock. Their
Yeah, it connects with
AWS,
Bedrock.
yeah,
Yeah,
AWS sort of model.
Bedrock.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I really think it's an interesting one. So for they have a free tier and that gives you 50 interactions per month, and they have a pro for $19 that gives you 1,000 interactions, and then they have a pro plus that gives you that goes for $39 a month and gives you 3K
yeah,
interactions. So yeah, sort of a sidebar. So
yeah,
how do I mean we pay a lot of stores these days. On Friday, you gave me access to Perplexity. I mean,
yeah,
I was considering paying for V0 because of the stuff I was building. I was working on it over the
yeah,
weekend. And then, so
yeah.
at what point are we going to maybe have like a consolidation or maybe have like you know, I don't have to pay for V0, Perplexity, ChatGPT. I was considering paying for Gemini because it integrates with my Google. So at what point are we going to stop paying for tiny tools? Is there an end to this? Are we just going to live like this till we all die, sort of?
I mean, there will be for some time there will be this noise, right? There will be lots of players.
Yeah,
Eventually, some, you know how this works, right? Eventually, some of the players are gonna rise to the top. I
yeah,
mean, and then so speaking of that, we remember last week we talked
yeah,
about windsurf.
yeah, yeah. Good stuff. Yeah,
Windsurf, the management team left to
yeah.
join DeepMind or Google Gemini, and what happens to the
Google
company?
Gemini. Yeah, yeah.
Later that day, I got the news that Devin bought Windsurf.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, we should have covered the
What's going
story.
on
Glad I
there?
remembered. So Devin AI now bought Windsurf. So they're partnered, bought or partnership. Something happened between them. So it
So
sort of
no
makes
more Google.
sense for Devin to do that, though.
So no more Google.
Huh?
So they didn't go to Google
Yeah.
anymore, any longer.
No, so no. The management team went. Remember, the confusion was, I still don't know, man. This is super confusing. So the management, the top CEO left with
Yeah,
with with the researcher team or the research team and joined Gemini. Okay,
yeah.
but they didn't take the product with them. Okay,
Oh,
so Google doesn't own the product IP. So Windsurf, the Copilot, the IDE, they don't. Google
yeah.
doesn't own. So that ID was left with the team. So what
Okay.
Devin team bought, or Cognition, I think is the name of the parent company
Cognitive
who owns
IO or
Devin.
something.
Yeah,
Cognitive,
yeah.
yeah.
So Cognition bought Windsurf, the team, and the product. Okay, they
Oh,
own the IP now. So which makes sort of sense. So that means the Devin is also sort of now direct competitor of Cursor, right? They used to be this agent running in the background, right? Now they have an IDE also along with that. So we should have
wow.
guessed it. That logically, after reading that story, it sort of makes sense. Okay, yeah, that sort of makes sense. So that was good.
Yeah,
Congratulations, guys. We were thinking that hope you guys end up somewhere nice. So they ended up somewhere nice. So that's good.
yeah. They ended up somewhere nice, which is really interesting because
Yeah, yeah,
for some time I was worried for Devin. I was thinking about them last week. I was like, okay, these guys, they were sort of the first movers. They were the guys that, I can remember watching their demo in 2022,
yeah,
ending of the year
yeah,
2022, when we were building
yeah,
8020 for
yeah,
Tobian. I was like, oh, these guys, I think we watched it together. Then there was this guy that did a breakdown before we started building
yeah.
our dev agent and everything. I was like, okay, yeah. And all of a sudden, we've not heard anything about them. I don't think for the past 20 weeks or 19 weeks now that we've been doing this podcast, we've covered anything
Yeah,
about them.
we haven't.
I don't
We
think we
haven't.
have.
I'm sure but they're slowly
Yeah.
building. I mean,
So,
um, I know there are some big, large companies using them, but
okay.
I mean, the space is pretty competitive right now. There are lots of AI agents doing lots of stuff. Okay, speaking of that,
All right.
um, this is sort of we always used to cover a sort of model story, right? So O3 Alpha, that mysterious model that showed up in AdCoder, and there is another. This model is showing up in a different arenas, the leaderboard, and doing really good. It's
Mhm.
named as anonymous something, so nobody knows what that model is. So clearly, OpenAI guys are trying out a new model. Okay, they're testing out. So people are saying, I mean,
Yeah.
this is sort of a speculation story here. I know OpenAI is about to release GPT-5, right? They've been making announcements like, hey,
Yeah.
this is coming, this is coming. It was supposed to be this summer. I mean, summer is not over yet technically, um, but I'm sure this is going to be soon. So people are saying this O3 Alpha is nothing but GPT-5. Now, interesting thing about GPT-5, I don't see in my notes in here, but I promise I read it somewhere. So GPT-5 is supposed to be sort of like this mixed model architecture. You know how Mixtrail has an expert sort of model, and depending upon, so Mixtrail, when you use Mixtrail, is just not one LLM. It's actually 5 or 7 LLMs packaged together as a group. And the way they do that is
Yeah.
when you send a prompt, it figures out which of the 7 models can work together to solve that problem. sort of a new or different architecture, right? That's what they do. I think the Kimi version 2, also the one that we covered last week, has a similar model. So I read it. I mean, don't quote me on this. That GPT-5 would be something like this, which will be like an umbrella over all other models. I know Sam Altman mentioned this, that their model naming is very confusing. I mean, we talked about this too, right? I don't know when to select O3 versus GPT 4.1 mini. There are so many options now, right? How do I decide? So maybe GPT-5 is sort of a kind of a like an Uber model, that when you send a prompt to that GPT-5, based on the prompt and the context, it figures out which model to use behind the scene.
Yeah. So I think I agree with you, and I believe that because Grok 4, remember we covered Grok 4, I think last week, right? It does something like that. So I think on their pro plan, I think, or maybe their biggest plan, when you subscribe to their biggest plan and you prompt, it spins up like three models and then solves that problem using the three models. Then the
Interesting.
three models come together to decide which one has the best solution. Right, so that's what Rock 4 does on their big plan, right?
Interesting.
So I mean, it's sort of like an engine, so it's expensive spinning up like four models at the same time for one prompt. But then what happens is that you get to see the best possible solution that all the models. So if GPT does something like that, I also believe it's going to be a really interesting one. Another reason why I also believe that the smart move and sort of like a good way to solve this problem is that if you look at Gemini, so I use Gemini a lot. They have this, is it Gemini Pro and Gemini Lite or something like that. So one of them is very good for mathematical models, very good for data. So let's say I have this Excel sheet, I just connect it and I prompt it and it gives me these solutions, mathematical solutions. But let's say I want to write an article that is good with SEO and I want to come up with a
Oops. Network issues.
title, or I want to.
Okay, you're back. Precious, you there?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So
we lost you there for like 5 seconds.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that. So I want Gemini to come up with like the other model doesn't do well in giving me, it gives me something not good. So if I can use one prompt and then have like have the two models solve it, I don't need to switch by myself. I just have the two model work on it and give me the best possible solution. Then I think that will be fine. That will give me like best outputs without me having to. So I believe they may be doing something like that.
I believe be cool, actually. I mean, I don't know how the pricing. I guess that will simplify the pricing also, which is nice because right now most of my model selection gets very much driven by, not necessarily, but very driven by how expensive that model is.
Yeah. So I think it's also going to affect the problem of AI engineers. You know, most of the AI engineers right now, they tend to focus on finding the best possible model to solve a particular problem. So, right. So I think that's also going to like help, maybe not take their jobs because that's a huge part of their job right now. But I mean, the change, when that comes in, you're also going to see how we react to that because they may not need an engineer to come and say, oh, this is the best model or we use that model. They just let the AI decide. Right. So I think I have the next story here. Mistral Neutral. So this is an open source. So this Mistral guys, they've been on the news a lot and they've been releasing a lot of open source models. I think you also mentioned it when you were talking about the last time you were talking. So they released this open source speech understanding model. So it's free. Of course, it's open source, so you can always check it out. I will try to drop the link in the chat. My notes is on my phone, not on my laptop. That's why I'm not doing that now. So
I can drop it here.
It comes with it handles. Okay, yeah, drop it. I think up to 30 minutes transcription and then 40 minutes semantic understanding with 32 token context window. It supports Q&A. Let's say you want to have like a Q&A conversation with your model. It also supports that. It supports summarization, function triggering, and then it is multilingual. So I can speak in English and then it responds to me in Spanish, right? Then the benchmark surpasses Whisper Large version 3. It surpasses Gemini 2.5 Flash and GPT-4o Mini. That is the benchmark. So I saw their graph. It's really ranked high in terms of performance. So this is specifically for developers. If you are building anything that involves like a speech model, you should check this out. Mistral, I saw their repo on Hugging Face. I saw their official Hugging Face page, and this looks to be very promising. And I think these guys are building solid stuff. They are not just building; they are also making it open source. So it's
Yeah, it's one of their.
Mistral.
Yeah, this is the biggest company, AI company from Europe, if I'm not wrong, right? They're French company trying to
Oh,
compete with. Yeah, they're trying to compete with the US and stuff. I mean, yeah, they're well funded too, so we're going to be seeing a lot
oh,
from them.
was from them. I was
Yeah,
even thinking, I didn't know they were
but
in Europe. I
but
was
there is
thinking
an
they are in.
there is an issue though, issue about, and I think that's going to touch your next story when you're going to be talking about the Chat GPT agent.
Yeah,
EU is, and there is a reason why I haven't covered this story because I want to see how that evolves into. But EU is actively working on like policies for AI safety, right? Um,
yeah,
they're about to release something major. I feel like which in some cases will constrain companies. I know Microsoft said they will support. Meta said no, we're not going to. Um,
oh,
so it's yeah, in Europe it's tricky to build something with AI because you have to make sure where the data coming from, all the lineage and stuff. So it's great
yeah.
to see that they're making some innovation out there.
There's this quote I read in a book. They said America innovates, Europe regulates.
No comment. uh, uh, I cannot say something live here about this.
All
All right,
right,
so
let's leave
I
it
forgot
there.
about this story. I want to cover this. This is unfortunately it's not precious. Sorry, it's not in our notes, but I will say that
Yeah,
because I think it's exciting. I'm already started playing with this. So AWS last week in New York, there is an AWS summit going on in New York on July 16th. They have announced something called Amazon Bedrock Agent Core. Okay. Um,
okay.
so the problem is right now, just to say back because I'm living through this problem, so that I can give you bit context. Um, so be, so agents are here to stay, right? Lots of companies are building AI agents, right? We covered the story numerous times, so that's here. So one of the there are many problems with building agents, right? Challenges, not problems, essentially. We talked about context programming, how to design your agents and all that stuff. But let's say you have designed them. Okay, you have the code, it's ready, you know how to deploy now. So
Yeah,
deploying AI agents requires a bit of fitness, right? I mean, there is lots of different types of issues with them that you have to address. For an example, especially if you're building a public-facing agent, right? I mean, what are you going to do with memory?
yeah,
How are you going to manage identities if your agent is stuck to multiple MCP servers? How are you going to manage OAuth, right? Maybe I need access to your, maybe that agent need access to your Google account, Google Calendar. How will we ensure
yeah,
that your OAuth tokens that you're sharing with your agent and identity is securely safe, right? And
yeah,
challenges of context, right? How I'm going to
yeah,
manage your that this is precious and history, all that stuff. So far, people have been hand ruling the solutions, right? Oh, take a vector store from here, take MCP server, manage this identity store here. So zooming out, what Agent Code is essentially trying to do is creating this fully managed backbone so that you can, like in AWS, plug into various services through your agent, and it provides you the runtime, it provides you the gateway to invoke all these MCP servers you need access to. It provides access to
yeah,
memory, that means short-term, long-term memory that you need for your agent. Identity store, that it gets tied to Cognito, so they can manage your OAuth tokens, and Okta as well, because if you're building enterprise level AI agents, it has access to observability, and it's framework agnostic. So it doesn't matter whether you use LangChain or Crew AI, you should be able to build this out. So I must say, Precious, between us, we're actively exploring agenting, right? And so one of that, I'm trying,
Yeah.
as I'm setting the infrastructure of this, I was looking at possible other couple of solutions, but this sort of makes my life super easy. It has all the ingredients I was thinking of hand rolling myself. It just comes out of the box.
Yeah. So this like AI as a deployment as a service sort of
Correct. Absolutely.
because yeah,
Just
AI
makes
as
your
a
life super
deployment.
simple to deploy
Yeah.
or build enterprise grade secure AI agents.
Yeah.
And it helps
So I think I also saw
we
this
are all
thing,
AWS
and
based,
it's
right? Yeah, our everything is on
yeah,
AWS, so it makes super simple for me.
yeah. So I mean, they have. I like the way they are going, right? So I live in Africa, obviously. I think everybody on this podcast already know I live in Nigeria. So when there's a new wave, the people that always capture the African market are those that go largely into education,
Yeah.
right? And those that have grants funding, they always become the leaders,
Okay.
right? We saw that with Google. Google had these Google developer groups everywhere in Africa. Every village has a developer group. They have Google presence. Facebook used to have what they call Facebook Developer Circle, but then I didn't know. I was part of it 2018, 2019. It was very active, but I think they sort of changed their model and it stopped or something like that, right? So when it comes to cloud development, AWS community has been huge in Africa. So last week, someone called me and was like, "You, AWS is giving out this particular amount of money, it's thousands of dollars to anybody that builds any AI solution and deploy on AWS in Africa. So you should check it out, build and deploy and apply to get this grant, right? So automatically they're encouraging great developers. They gave me a free nano degree course, which I'm still taking on how to build AI. Very interesting
Okay.
course that I'm taking
You
on how
should
to
share
build
with
AI.
those folks here.
And it's free. Yeah, I think I shared it in the
Okay.
community. I
Okay.
will also
Okay.
look for the link. Share it everywhere. Yeah, so I love how they are doing. And now I'm coming into this space where they are now capturing deployment
Yeah.
because vibe coding has made building sort of easy.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about, oh, this is how easy it is for you to build. This
Right.
is how easy it is for you to build. Nobody's talking about, okay, start building, how do we deploy?
Right.
And then giving people the space where they get to manage all of
Yeah.
these. I mean, some people are still confused about how to use
Yeah.
Superbase and then V0 front, Superbase backend. How do you bring them together and all those things?
Yeah.
So this is a very, I think, strategic play,
Mm.
and
I agree.
I believe they're going to win.
I think they structured
Yeah,
it
they're
very
going.
well. I mean, I must say. I mean, I haven't done the math of how expensive this is going to become, but at this point, I'll be honestly, speed is more important for me. So I've been playing. I mean, next week I can give you guys some update, but Agent Core might become the backbone of what I'm building right now.
Yeah.
Uh,
All right. We would like to see that.
yeah.
We'd like to hear it from you. All right. So OpenAI. I think I and Neil are going to talk about it. Probably maybe second to last story.
Mhm.
We spent time. All right. So OpenAI ChatGPT,
Mm.
they created this ChatGPT agent. So I watched the demo video and I can remember someone made a tweet and said, "Why are we always testing agent videos using travel examples? Why can't we say, oh, why always travel? Everybody's saying, oh, this agent can help you arrange your travel. Why can't you do something else, right?" So,
Actually, Abhi,
but
I'll
then,
push back a little bit. I thought through that too. Why just do travel? Travel is
yeah,
complicated.
why travel?
I sometimes I do this hack. So I was planning my trip. So in a couple of weeks I'm going to West Coast. Uh, so I use ChatGPT a lot for doing this, which is kind of crazy because it helps me do sort of planning, which is almost it's cumbersome to manually do it through URLs and multiple sites. So travel, the reason I think it's interesting because it requires you to connect to multiple various endpoints and different sources with different
Yeah.
conflicting. Oh, my flight not arrive here, what should I do with the hotel booking, what about the rental car, maybe I'm going to pick up here, drop in some other airport. I think the complexity makes it interesting for agents to solve. That's my take. Anyway, go ahead with the story.
Okay. Okay. I mean, anyways, I mean, it's
Yeah, they do that always. I mean,
they
I
should
think
try
that's our
something else
go-to
anyway. Maybe
example. I agree with that though.
tra- travel and something else. Someone suggested they should do helping book a dentist appointment or an eye
Yeah, yeah.
appointment. I struggle with eye appointments anyway. So yeah. So so this new ChatGPT agent unifies the operator, which is the web automations, and then deep research, which is deep in web analysis agent, to perform multi-steps computer tasks using secure virtual computers. So what this simply means is that your ChatGPT can research for you, and then based on the outcome of the research, it can now perform carry some tasks for you, right? I've not tested this. I only saw the demo video because it was loud. It was everywhere on YouTube.
I don't have
I
access to this. I think you need to be in the pro plan. I think you have to be on that $200 per month plan.
yeah. Most of these guys they now release their new features on the $200 plan. I don't know why they did
Mm,
that. Same with Perplexity Web browser. Their browser was also
yeah,
on their plan.
yeah.
So, anyways, so yeah. So what this means is that it can fill a form for me. I am so I've been applying to some schools in the US and other parts of the world, right?
Mm,
So I wonder if this can help me apply for my schools. I mean, it
mhm.
takes time. I spend about 2 hours every morning since we are in
Right,
summer doing my
right,
application. Can you help me
right,
do that? So
right.
that is why I agree with the person that said we should see more examples. Can you help me, talk to the professors? Can you
I
help me?
think it can. I think it can. You just have to, based on some of the reactions that I've noticed from various folks and people I follow on Twitter, is that obviously there are a glimpse of like, wow, so we are getting into the world where it's from chat to action, right? It's not, you're just not having conversation now. You have a knowledge worker, an
Yeah,
assistant doing work
yeah,
for you, right? I think that fundamental shift is crazy. I mean,
yeah,
it's revolutionary, that fundamental shift, right? I mean, so I've seen demos where it can take ideas, create spreadsheets and PowerPoint presentations. So that's crazy.
yeah.
But it does
Because
get stuck, right? Because like any early technology, I mean, it's evolving.
yeah.
Um,
So it can, according to them, it can, put something on my calendar. It can respond to
yeah,
my Gmails. It
yeah,
can,
yeah.
it can go off.
It can
I
take
don't
your
know what
chores essentially. Yeah, it can do your stuff that you usually want to sort of automate or offload to someone to do, as if you have your secretary.
so
I think
yeah,
what would be interesting to see, though, I know OpenAI is working on their own browser, I believe, right? Like how this different than getting. I mean, we're gonna get AI browsers. Like Comet is one example of that, like you mentioned, like Perplexity, right? That Comet, I'm assuming, is sort of same, right? It can do same stuff that this agent can do, right?
yeah.
Yes.
So I am interested to see. I've had this idea, even though I don't think anybody can build it. You can go on and build it, right? So I think I've mentioned it before on this podcast where I don't like thinking about food.
Yeah.
I like eating, but I don't want to think about what I will eat.
Yeah.
So I was thinking that with MCPs, if I will be able to connect my food ordering
Yeah.
app and then let them deliver it, I can connect my maybe I can have my hospital MCP if they have like an MCP for their hospital app. They have my diagnosis for the past six
Mm,
months. And I let the AI look at my
mm.
diagnosis and decide the kind of food I need to eat on a daily basis for the next
Right.
6 months,
Right.
right? And then when I wake up in the morning, it orders my breakfast by 10
Mm,
a.m. All I need to do is to go out to the front door and pick it up from the delivery
right.
guys. By lunch, he orders my
Yeah.
lunch, and then my dinner, he also orders my dinner, right? If I'm going to have an AI agent doing this, that would be great. Another super example of stuff like this that I can see is okay, this might be a little bit crazy. Is if you know how we have some, so I have friends that live in Canada. We have conversations, and then they will tell you that, oh, I'm going out, but I have to dress a particular way because the weather is going to change at some point during the day, right? So if I can have, they have to keep checking their weather app to be
Yeah.
able to decide what they wear. So what if the AI agent does that and just pings me and say, hey, this is the clothes I agree. But is there a way for me to show it all the clothes that I have so that you can be able to combine and say, oh,
Totally
you should
possible. You
wear
should
this,
build
this, and
this.
this?
You can vibe code this.
If
Upload your photos of
I
your wardrobe.
can?
Yeah, you could easily. Vibe code this. So essentially, what you can do is that a part of the context is going to be all the images that you upload. It needs to be some sort of multimodal, so any
Yeah,
O3 model can do. Um, then um,
yeah,
then you need one MCP server that connects to sort of weather app, right? Based on your zip code or area
yeah,
code is going to ping. Um, and
yeah,
so it will not. So you could schedule a job so that it can run once a day in the morning. So
in the
it's an
morning.
app that greets you, a good morning app. Okay,
Good
so
morning.
a
Yeah,
good morning app
yeah,
that has all this, your has access to your wardrobe, has access to your weather, have access to
yeah,
your Uber Eats or whatever delivery services you use.
yeah,
So it just plans a day for you. Hey Precious, today
yeah,
seems sunny but it might rain in the evening. Here is why I recommend, based on
yeah,
your wardrobe. Here is your meal plan. If you want,
yeah,
I can order all this food for you, they deliver. Totally possible, do it.
yeah. That means it's really, really part of my
Yeah.
daily life, and that would be
Yeah,
very,
that'll be
very
awesome.
interesting.
I mean, people might pay for this stuff.
All right.
Um, all right. Well,
So
you
I
want
think,
me to cover this other story, or are we sort of done here?
yeah, I think we can just do a quick run on that because this is getting to
Okay.
50 minutes, and so we
Okay.
don't.
Cool. This one we will like. We might like. So, you know how there we always talk about this. So one of the objective of doing podcasts was just sniffing through all the hype and just give you a reality check, right? That at least was my goal. Because I'm pretty
Yeah,
hands-on. I try some of these tools and technology. I try to go deep. I understand which works and what doesn't work. There is lots of hype, trust me.
yeah,
So this study done by METR, they are a non-profit organization called Model Evaluation and Threat Research. Okay, their objective is essentially kind of sniff through this
yeah,
all the hype and figure out all this innovative technologies, whether it's helping us or it's a threat for us, right? So they did a random sort of study to see how experienced developers who are familiar with the code base, that means they're working with, like I'm working with my Tubulian code base, I'm very familiar with, and having them use AI tools to see how
mm,
that helps them. Now, this was shocking. That's what got my attention. It turns out developers took around 19% longer to finish their work when AI assistant was on. So actually, let me refresh. Let me repeat
okay,
that again, just to make sure everybody got this. Developers actually got
yeah,
slower for using AI assistant, not faster, slower. Even though the general consensus out there
wow,
that these tools actually help you to speed up, uh, even though
yeah,
they thought it would make them 24% faster. So perception is when I use AI tool, I'll be honest with you, perception is I'm actually going faster. There has been time where these tools kind of bog you down, and I made a post about this too. I mean, this you get into this loop of, oh, one more prompt might fix this, one more prompt will fix my problem, and by the time you realize it's been 4 hours doing this. It turns
yeah,
out that the AI suggestions were directionally correct. AI was solved directionally, pointing that okay, this is a problem to solve, but most of the time their solutions was not exactly what they're looking for. So the reason for slowness was that they had to actually review that code, fix that code. That actually slowed that down.
hmm,
Now there are many variables to this, Precious. Honestly, right? I mean, yeah. Um, if there are ways and techniques you can use with these tools to kind of optimize it with your experience, and these tools are obviously learning about your code bases, but at times it does. I mean, I sort of agree with this story, but yeah.
yeah. I'm just trying to think about it, right? Because
So there are
I
two
mean,
important data point I want to repeat, just to make sure. This are senior developers, and they're already familiar with their code base. They know the code they're working
their
on.
code base.
Okay.
Yeah,
Whereas AI is tremendously benefit for newcomers who are into a new code base, and we talked about that. In those cases, there is definitely visible productivity gain because these tools are immediately helping you. So that's what I do typically
oh,
now. Any examples I download because I've been playing with lots of new technologies like agent code and stuff. Giant documentation, right?
yeah,
A huge GitHub
yeah,
repository with lots of examples. Nobody got time for that, man. So I what I do is that I open Claude Code on them and say, hey, just tell me what's happening here. What is this file doing? Or what should I do next? So as a research, the AI
yeah,
tools are amazing. That's obviously giving me the speed. I don't have to manually review this
yeah.
new code. But apparently for existing code base, it actually slows you down.
That's a very interesting
Hmm.
perspective because everybody, the way it has been sold is, it makes you faster, it saves you
Yeah.
time, does this, and it's really interesting to see that it doesn't really save senior developers time. This also, I think, in one of our early episodes, we talked about senior developers and junior developers. You know how when we talked about how code reviews with senior developers,
Hmm.
when, for example,
Yeah.
a company, the senior guys, how they go about reviewing
Mhm.
codes, because they, of course, they know you wrote it with AI, but then there are basic things that they are looking
Mhm.
for because they understand the code base. They've been working on this code for like maybe the last 7 or 5 years, and they understand it better. So it's going to help them.
Yeah.
So they know where to go, what to look for, where to touch, and even how to improve the
Mhm.
code
Now,
more than
yeah.
you. Okay.
No, so this is
No.
also another very fascinating data point, uh, which is
Yeah.
obviously you would expect that after then research, these developers will stop using this tool because it's actually slowing me down. Why should I use it? But it turns out the
Okay.
perceived value persists. That means most of these participants who were part of this research, they kept using Cursor.
Yeah.
They used Cursor probably, Cursor for this experiment afterwards.
Yeah.
Even if it kind of demonstrated is slowing you down, they continue to use it because
Yeah.
the experience was more enjoyable for them.
Yeah. I believe it will be.
Mm,
I believe it will be. So before we close out for
yeah,
today, I just don't want to forget about it. So I can remember you posted it in the communities, also on our LinkedIn and then on our Twitter. For those watching on LinkedIn and Twitter, you can always check around there. So we released this A to A wrapper. That's an AI agent that speaks to AI agent, A to A protocol, agent to agent
yeah,
protocol, and we are looking for
yeah.
collaborators. So next week we are going to maybe start with that, so we can give you like detailed description
Oh,
on how
cool.
to be part
Yeah,
of this. But do you mind giving like a quick overview on that A to A wrapper,
yeah. So
maybe for someone that wants to?
yeah, so as we continue to build agents, we are getting into the world of where and I'm going to be doing the keynote on this tomorrow too, right? About the AI labor
Yeah,
economy. We're getting to the point where
yeah,
agents doesn't work in isolation. Agents will be talking with other agents, right? That's why this A2A protocol is so interesting for us. Now, A2A is a different specification. You have to follow the specification, build, make sure your agent supports that. What I've done with mostly Vive coded this is and build an A2A wrapper. That means what it does is that it's going to be in a Python library that you can download and add it to your agent, and it will create a thin
okay.
wrapper on top of your agent code. It really doesn't matter what technology you have used to build the agent, LangChain, LangGraph, DSpy. It will create the A2A wrapper. That means that your agent is suddenly can speak A2A protocol. So it's a super thin way to
Oh,
expose your agent so that it can talk to other agents.
oh, okay, nice, nice, nice. So it's just like a wrapper you put in your agent, wrap it, and then it can
Yeah.
you'll be able to
You
talk
know,
to. So in terms of collaborators for the open source, is there like particular areas where you're looking for
yeah. So
collaborators for those that want to?
so building a wrapper is obviously we need to build support each frameworks, right? I think out of the box I provided support for Crew and LangChain. There are other like
Yeah.
AWS has Strand, dspy, AutoGen. There are other libraries. If you can build a helper or wrapper for those frameworks, that would be awesome contribution.
Oh, oh, all right, all right. Nice. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. This is the longest episode we've done. This is 55
Oh, really?
minutes.
Well,
Wow,
time
yeah,
flies
this
when
is
you have
55
fun.
minutes. Yeah, so time flies. So you guys, see you next week, same time. And then, yeah, thank you very much for
All right.
coming. Really
Take care.
appreciate it.
Bye.
Enjoy the, yeah, bye. Enjoy the rest of your week.